Okay, thank you so much for joining me on this last day of this free nutrition class. And on today's class, I'm going to talk about the importance of sleep and stress when it comes to transforming our bodies and seeing progress and changes. And so I want to start with this handout, this workbook that I created, and you have access to it. And under the replay, I'll put the link as well, so you can download it and have it as a guide as well. Okay, so let's start with that. If you want to watch the other two videos on the other 2 days, you can absolutely do that. The first day was all about nutrition and the 3-2-1 method and how to create balanced meals. Yesterday was about exercise and how you can start creating an actionable plan to get you exercising and seeing some changes with exercise. And today is about, as I mentioned, sleep, stress, and we're also going to create a meal plan together, and you'll have access to that meal plan. As a disclaimer, right? This is just a general guide that you can use as for ideas for your meals. Is not an individualized meal plan, right? Because I don't know the specifics for you. But if you want one at the end of the class, I'll tell you more about how we can work together in order to create an individualized meal plan for you. So first things first, there is a term that I created to help you have better sleep. And I call it the CALM, right? Or calm for better sleep. And so C is for limit caffeine. Yes, we want to drink caffeine in the morning to wake us up, right? Caffeine is a stimulant, so it will do the job. But if we drink it later on in the day, later on in the afternoon, there's research that shows that it can distribute your sleep, right? For some people, it doesn't affect them, and that's great. But if you're more sensitive to caffeine and you're drinking, a cup of coffee or a sugary coffee drink at 3 p.m. because you're feeling tired or you're feeling like I need a pick up, then it can potentially affect your sleep, when you're trying to go to sleep. And so limit caffeine, right? Ideally to just in the morning. Have your cup of coffee in the morning and nothing else after that. If you're having issues with like trying to stay awake or you're being tired, you have that midday slump, it's most likely not related to um caffeine, but it's probably other reasons. Could be that we're not sleeping enough, right? Or that we're not eating enough balanced meals or having energy dense meals, nutrient dense meals. If that is the case, then addressing that, right, can really help. I've had lots of patients that, once we fix the meals, once we fix, the first meal, and then we have more balanced meals throughout the day, that slump usually goes away, right? If it's related to lack of sleep, then once we fix that, then that is fixed. I had a patient yesterday that told me, I'm working on limiting my caffeine because I know that the reason why I feel so tired in the afternoon is not because I need more coffee, it's because I'm not eating enough in the morning. So we're working on fixing that, and I can't wait to see what she discovers at our next appointment. The second one, right? C was for caffeine. The second one is A, and it's set up your room ambience. What does that mean? So if, when you're gonna go to sleep, you have all kinds of things going on. You have, all the lights on, and you have the TV so loud, and you have the tablet, or you have your phone, or there's so much clutter around your room, and that bothers you, then it's hard for you to really relax, right? And really be in that Zen mode where you can be calm and your body's like, okay, it's time to calm down, it's time to relax, time to go to sleep. So look at that, right? How does my environment, how does my room look like? And is that affecting my quality of sleep, right? Is that affecting my ability to go to sleep? And if that is the case, right, fix that a little bit. In my case, right, when when I want to go to sleep, I definitely don't like clutter, right? If there's like a bunch of clothes on the bed, I can't go to sleep. Like I'm just thinking about that. Or if there's so much light, I don't have a TV in my room, which is wonderful. I don't have to worry about that. But some people need the TV to fall asleep, right? And if that is the case, can we change it to maybe a noise, what is that called? A noise machine that, makes that noise and it helps you to go to sleep because the blue light, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, can also disturb your sleep. So the next one is L, right? Limit your blue light preferably an hour before bedtime. Now, this is hard, right? Because it's especially if you're a parent and like you put the kids to sleep and you have, that time for you and maybe your spouse or your partner, and you're like, I just want to enjoy this time, not doing anything and looking at my phone, right? Um, but you spend so much time and now it's like 12 in the morning and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to wake up at 4 in the morning and I can't sleep because, there's all these blue light that affected my ability to sleep. Now, why is that? Because our brain has something called melatonin, right? Which is a hormone to help us go to sleep. And so those melatonin levels start to rise when there's, when they see darkness. And so if we have this light on our eyes, right, which are our eyes are, they go straight into your brain, right? As they think of your brain, your eyes as like part of your brain, right? And so then we are not allowing our bodies to really produce those melatonin levels to that point where we are start to sleep, right? Because we have this light in front of us. And it could be other reasons, right? And so if that is the case, right, you want to limit as many factors that affect your sleep as you can. So if blue light is one of them, coming from the TV, coming from your phone, coming from your tablet, um, then we wanna start there too, right? You might say, oh, well, I use the dark mode on my phone, or I use, the blue light glasses. Doesn't matter, right? Light is light. And so if your brain senses, oh, there's light, no, we don't need melatonin levels right now. It's daytime. So then we don't sleep, right? We don't allow our brains to do their job. So think about that, right? You can do whatever you want, but if you're having a hard time falling asleep, or if you're having a hard time getting yourself to sleep, right? Limit that blue light 1 hour before bedtime. The other thing too that can happen is that as you're, scrolling through social media or scrolling through your phone, and you look at something that is very upsetting or brings like strong emotions, now your brain is like, wow, what is happening? I have like all these thoughts and I can't go to sleep because I don't know how to process them. So look at that behavior as well. The next thing, right, under calm, it's M. Mind dump at the end of the day. You can also call it brain dump at the end of the day. And just like, when I mentioned about looking at something that brings strong emotions, if at the end of the day, right, all you think about is like all the things that you didn't do, or, you remember about not doing something at work or at the office, or you're getting worried about things that haven't happened yet or that already happened a long time ago. Your brain is so overloaded with information that it's hard to go to sleep, right? If your brain is racing all the time, you're not allowing it to really calm down and relax and be in that Zen mode to be able to allow you to go to sleep, then sometimes making a note of it, right? Writing it down, write everything down. It doesn't have to make sense. Just write everything that comes to mind in a piece of paper. You can get rid of it, throw it or burn it or whatever you want to do, but it helps you, right? It helps to process those thoughts that you have in your brain racing and onto that piece of paper, which also there's research that shows that that helps, right? Transferring that information onto something by writing it down can really help. And then I usually suggest that the same thing when I have patients that tell me I wake up in the middle of the night because I'm thinking about something, right? So what I suggest is like write it down, have a notepad and a pen or a pencil on your nightstand or somewhere near you where you don't have to turn the light on, right? If you turn the light on, then now it's going to be harder because now your brain is like, hey, it's daytime, there's light. And then those melatonin levels start to drop, and then the other hormones to wake you up start to increase. So you want to do that even if it's in the middle of the night with no light. Just jot those things down, write them down. Again, doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to write on the lines. Just to allow your brain to have some peace. So to recap, right? Some tips to help you have better sleep. Use the calm methodology, right? C, for limit your caffeine. Ideally, keep it, first thing in the morning. Oh, of course, we can talk about how much caffeine, right? But I'm not going to go that in that moment. Ideally, the recommendation is about 300 milligrams a day, which is equivalent to about, 1 cup of like brewed coffee. But you got to remember there's caffeine on other things, right? So something to consider. So C is for caffeine, limit your caffeine. A is for ambience, the ambience in your room, right? How is my room? Because when I think about home, right, is where I go and relax, is where I go and be a little bit stress-free. Of course, if you're a parent, right, there's chaos all the time. But at least where you're gonna go to sleep, right, there has to be a way to feel relaxed. So that would be A, ambience. L, right, is your blue light. If you can limit that, 1 hour, ideally probably longer. So that way, those melatonin levels starts to increase. You get ready, your body starts to get ready for bed. And you allow, your brain and your body to do the job that it needs to do to help you fall asleep. And then M is the mind dump, right? If you have lots of things in your mind, just write them down, and don't worry about them. Or if you can, write them down and think about them the next day. So that's for the calm. Now, you might ask yourself, why is this important, right? Why do I need to do that? Because sleep plays a huge role in weight management, but also in recovering and repairing. If we're not sleeping enough, right, how do we expect our bodies to recover and repair and balance hormonally if we don't allow it to sleep at least those 7 to 8 hours, right? I have people that say I can function in 5 hours with 5 hours. That's great. But for how long, right? And are you really getting quality sleep? So the idea is to get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. It has to be good quality sleep. The other thing too is that are we really prioritizing our sleep, right? Maybe we're just mindlessly not planning our sleep, right? Or we sleep at different hours of the night. Or we rather, watch TV and not have quality sleep, but then the next day we feel horrible because we didn't sleep enough. Now, what also happens when we don't sleep enough is that because our bodies are trying to keep us awake, right? One of the things that happens is that we crave more things, right? We feel that we're hungry, but it's not really hunger. It's just that because sugar usually is, we see it as something that can keep us awake, then we crave more of those things. So the cravings can also increase if we don't sleep enough. So my question to you, how are you going to improve your sleep, right? Just like with every single goal that we have talked about up to this point is you don't want to change everything at once because it's going to be very overwhelming. What you want to do is just focus on one thing, right? So if you see, okay, I know that I drink a lot of caffeine, but I'm not willing to give it up just yet. Okay, let's move on to the next one. How about the way that your room is, right? Does that bother you? Can we work on that, right? Slowly, can you organize your room, your bedroom, or wherever you sleep a little bit better so it helps you? And that's one way. Or can you do a mind dump, right? Maybe just writing things down might help you to be more relaxed and fall asleep. Um, so choose only one, right? Work on that consistently until you create a goal, until you create a habit, and that can help. Um, that's, creating like a practice, right? Also a daily morning practice, just to take a few moments each morning to assess your sleep, more specifically your quality of sleep the night before. And then if that didn't happen, right, pick one thing that you can work on during that day so that way you have better sleep that night. So that's one of the ways to evaluate or assess how well your sleep is. So create your plan, right? You can share it with me if you like. You can share it with somebody else to keep you accountable. But again, sleep is a huge one because I do see that time after time with my patients. If they are not sleeping, if their sleep is horrible, if they're only sleeping 4 hours or 5 hours, and let's say we were seeing progress, meaning that, they're seeing changes in how their body's looking or how their eating behaviors are. And now we're actually going on to the opposite way. And I start asking these questions, and sleep is one of them. And they're like, no, I'm not sleeping, right? I'm only sleeping 4 hours and I'm waking up multiple times during the day. Then that's the reason why we're not seeing progress anymore. It's most likely because of that sleep, right? That we're not getting that good quality sleep. Now, if there are other conditions, right, like sleep apnea or something more clinical, then I suggest you work with your health provider to assist you in that area, just so that way, because it's more clinical. But you can still work on these ones, right? You can still work on these steps as well. Okay, so let's see. The other thing too that also affects weight and affects how our bodies transform is stress, right? And that's another question, another area where I ask my patients lots of questions, right, about stress. Because believe it or not, stress can really affect obviously, how we feel throughout the day, but it can affect the way that we eat, our food choices, and can also affect your sleep, right? If you're highly stressed at the end of the day, and you have, these high cortisol levels, and you're on that fight or flight mode where you have these endorphins going because you don't know if you need to fight that lion or if you need to, run away, then it's hard to go to sleep too, right? So stress is also a huge area that I talk to my patients when we work together. So I want to give you start with some quick ways to relieve stress, right? The first one is a deep breathing. Now you might ask, oh, yeah, I've heard that before. But I want you to really, really do some deep breathing work, right? We naturally breathe, right? It's something that we do automatically. But being able to really take a deep breath, right? It's like it creates this peace throughout our bodies. Like we're able to almost sense how the oxygen is going through our brain, how it's going through our lungs, obviously, and through our body parts. And so you almost feel like that relief, right? It helps on your shoulders. When I ask my patients, where do you feel the stress more? Or when do you know that you have stress, right? Because we do live in a stressful environment and we get so used to it, our bodies get used to it. But how do we know, right? When do we know that it's enough stress? And a lot of the times my patients say, oh, I feel it on my shoulders, right? Like they're so tense. Or when I'm so stressful, I clench my fist, or I grind my teeth, right? Pay attention to that. Like how does your body tell you that you have a lot of stress, right? And the number one thing that you can do right away is do some deep breathing, right? Repeat that 3 to 5 times, 3 to 5 minutes. Like really deep breathe. And that can help, right? And so inhale and exhale for a couple times. And you can really feel the difference. Another one is being present in the moment, right? So focus on what is happening at the moment, how you are feeling. Listen to what your body's telling. If we worry about things that haven't happened, how either they're going to happen in like months from now, or things that already happened, um, they were not present, right? We're not really listening to what our bodies are needing. And so let's say, we're so stressed about something that is going to happen 3 months from now. And because you're so stressful, you're so tensed, and now you're thinking about, okay, I really want that piece of chocolate, right? And it's not so much because we don't have control over it. It's because your brain is trying to make you feel better, right? The whole thing about our bodies and our brains is that the main job is to keep us alive, is survival. And so when we are unwell, when we are unhappy, then that's a risk, right? For it's we see it as like it affects our survival, the survival mechanisms. And so your brain wants to make you feel happy. And so then we think about that, right? If at one point we felt similarly or we felt the same way, and you reach for a chocolate, right? Chocolate bar or whatever that specific food is, and you ate and you were like, which we needed to take a deep breath, but at that moment we ate something and we felt so much better. Your brain made that connection, right? You wired your brain that way, and your brain was like, oh, wow, this feels amazing. I'm not stressed anymore, right? Like, thank you for that. And so then every time you feel the same way, right, your brain is going to remind you, hey, remember when you felt that way? You had that piece of chocolate or you had that specific food. Let's have that, right? Because I want you to feel good. I want you to survive. And so it's really deep, right? And so what you need to work on is being present. Think about what your body needs at the moment, right? Like, am I really stressed? Like, how does my body feel? Am I, clenching my fist? Am I grinding my teeth, or like are my shoulders like really tense? Do I have a neck headache, right? Because I'm so tensed. Um, Once you identify that, right, figure out how to make your body feel that is not related to food, right? Because you want to rewire your brain. So for example, if it's a deep breathe, doing some deep breathing exercises, or taking a walk, right? Or listening to something, um, or doing some self-talk, that can really help, right? Because we are rewiring our brain, but also detaching that food reward system to something that your body actually needs, right? It needs to feel good. It needs to relax. Um, and, practicing that can help long term. The second one is, or the third one, this is the third one, fourth one maybe, is daily exercise, right? Of course, there is a lot of research that shows that when we exercise, our body releases the feel-good chemicals, right? It releases endorphins, increases um, it, yeah, the endorphins, the serotonin levels, dopamine. And so adding some type of exercise, right? And I've talked about exercise, of course, yesterday, but also I did it in my first class. But no, taking exercise not as a way of punishment, right? And it doesn't have to be like hours and hours at the gym. It could be a simple walk, right? Let me just go outside and look at the trees, right? Or let me just focus on what I can see, what animals I can see, look at the birds fly or something like that, right? To help you feel better. But of course, if you're able to just add a routine, right, a more consistent routine to your day, that can help too. One, because it also helps your body to feel more relaxed, right? But it brings those stress levels down too. So it has to be something that you enjoy. If you enjoy dancing, wonderful, right? Join that. If you like walking, right? And walking is, again, I've talked about that before too. It's so underrated. But you don't need much for a walk, right? Just your shoes. Um, and you can go outside and walk, or you can even walk outside your home, right? Like around your house. And that's another option as well. Um, a few more, right? Take a massage, right? Maybe if you like massages, you can go for a massage and every so often to help release that stress. If your spouse or partner, you can ask them if they can give you a massage specifically in that like neck area and shoulder area, that can really help. Um, and it can really release that muscle tension, right? Where you can really, really feel it. And that can just help, if you get headaches often, that can help for sure. So that's also another way to relieve some stress. Another one would be, be grateful, right? Taking that moment to focus on the things that matter, right? On the things that you're grateful for and writing them down. Um, Sometimes I suggest my patients to do some journaling, right? Of like, what are you grateful for today? Or what things went well? And that can shift the focus on like being so negative or having this stress, these high levels of stress, and to be more positive, right? Of course, you want to write things down that are positive and that what makes you feel grateful or happy. And that can also help with really relieving some stress. Meditation, right? There's so many ways to meditate, right? There's so many things that you can do to meditate. It doesn't have to be just being quiet and trying to get into that Zen mode or into transcend into something else, right? It could be just having that quiet time. I have a patient yesterday that told me, I just wanna, my next goal is to just have some really sit down and have some quiet time. And it doesn't mean like, driving from my work to my home, but be intentional, right, about just having that quiet time and listening to what my body needs and practicing the deep breathing um, can really help, especially if you're, somebody that works in an environment that is loud or like you get so stimulated so much that in order for you to recharge yourself or to help yourself to feel better, you need to be in like a quiet time, like you have nothing else going on, that can help you too. Sometimes time in nature can help, right? So again, going for a walk or going for a hike on the weekends, right? It can help. Or visiting a national park, or if you have a garden, right? Sometimes that helps. Gardening can help. Just spending that time in nature can also bring down those stress levels. Let's see here. So how can you transform your stress, right? What would be the plan? Just like with sleep, right? Just like with nutrition and exercise, you want to work on with one thing at a time, right? Number one, the first thing that you have to do is how do I manage my stress, right? I've had patients that when I ask them that, they're like, I don't know, like nothing. And then I ask them, so how do you know when you had too much stress? And usually that's when they start telling me, oh, well, um, I get irritated or I get moody or get a headache or I withdraw. So really learning about yourself, right? Like, okay, how do I manage stress, right? Do I have I have high tolerance to stress, but then how do I help my bodies to um, to refuel or to relax, right? And then once you know about yourself, right, and then using the tips that I'm providing you, maybe pick one or two. Okay, when I do feel that I'm getting that, that my stress levels are building up, let me just spend about 5 minutes doing some deep breathing, right? Like really deep breathing. Or let me do some meditation, right? At the end of the day, I'm gonna spend 5 minutes, right? Just meditating a little bit, doing some quiet time. Or maybe I need to journal things, right? And that can also help with sleep at the end of the day. So make a plan and work on that. Now, the question here, right? Like, why do I need to do that? Like, what's the point? That's just another thing that I have to do. But my friend, if you're wanting to lose weight, or if you're wanting to manage your weight or your cravings or the way that you feel in general, stress plays a huge role in every single area. Because if we are stressed, as I mentioned earlier, and you've been stressed for a long time and you haven't managed it, you haven't addressed it, then it gets to that point where your body's like, hey, I need a break, right? I have this, with chronic stress, what happens is that we have these high levels of cortisol, right? And we're in that fight or flight mode where either we're fighting or we need to run away. And your body gets exhausted, right? It's exhausting to have these elevated levels of like just think about adrenaline, right? And it's those levels need to come down for your body to refuel and replenish and repair. And so if those continues to stay high, right, that can affect your immune system too. It creates inflammation. And so I've seen, it seems that more and more I'm seeing these with patients that come to me because they have gut issues, right? Everything else is fine. Like they've done blood work and the labs look good. Um, and they just don't know why they're having these gut issues. And so then as I start asking questions, because one of the things that you gotta know about me, I ask a lot of questions to my patients, but because I want to learn about, the whole person, um, and to be able to assist them, properly and have an individualized plan. And so I'm seeing this trend more and more where I see these patients that come to me with like gut issues, right? And they're eating foods that they used to eat and nothing would happen. Now they're eating them and like it bothers them. But what you gotta know is that our gut and our brain are connected. We are connected entirely, right? It's not that, oh, my arm just does whatever it wants and it's not connected to the entire body, right? It doesn't. Your whole body is interconnected. And so when there are high levels of stress, that affects your stomach too, right? So there could be issues with digestion. There could be issues with, not tolerating a certain food, but not because you're allergic. It's just because of those high levels of stress, right? The cortisol, um, and the inflammation, and your body is it almost feels like you're fighting something internally, right? Almost like an autoimmune disease, but it is not. Um, that it starts fighting things that you used to tolerate, but now you don't. And so once we address the stress, right? Once we start working on lowering those stress levels and really being mindful of them, and you allow your body to really heal and your gut to heal, then you can start to see changes. And so stress is huge, right? We're going to have stress because we are human, but how much stress is too much, right? That depends from person to person. But at least um, having the tools to manage it can help long term, right? And so we want to make sure that it doesn't get too bad where now your blood pressure is elevated, right? Because your poor body has been working 24/7, literally. Um, it already works 24/7, but you're making it work even harder because you don't know how to manage your stress. Now that you're seeing it on your blood pressure, right? Or you're seeing it on your heart rate or on your heart, or you're seeing it, on your gut. And so we really have to be mindful of that. I have to give you another example. I have a patient, right, that she came to me for some gut issues, and we worked through that, and then she got a new job. And in this new job, it was all new. So obviously, when you start something new, it's very stressful. Even if you try not to, it's just the way it is. And then she had this huge event. And one of the things that she learned is that because of those high levels of stress and not knowing how to manage them, not knowing how to approach them because it was something new, she was not expecting that she started to get these gut issues again, right? Like really stomach pains, and everything she would eat would bother her. Sometimes diarrhea, sometimes constipation, and it wasn't, IBS, nothing related to the intestines. It was just because of the stress. Because once she managed her stress, right? Once she started doing some deep breathing, she started doing some yoga, she understood that was the whole cause, the reason why she was having those gut issues, right? Because once she stopped, once she started working on her stress management, she noticed that her gut issues went away. Um, and that's, again, this is just, I want you to take this information, right, just as a general information. That's the disclaimer, right? Don't take it as a diagnosis, or don't take it, oh, I should do that, right? Because you're a whole person. There's other things that could be happening with you. So make sure that you seek out the help of a health provider or your dietitian, that you can work together to figure out what is happening specifically in your case. But stress is huge, my friend. So you have to be able to find ways to manage it. And focusing on one thing at a time, right? You don't want to work on your stress management plan and it's like stressing you even more. So focus on one thing at a time. Um, Now, I wanted to talk about something essential, right? When we are talking about transformation and we are talking about change, there's something called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Which means that we have to have these needs met before anything else can happen. And one of them is, or a few of them is food, right? Because it's for survival. And then it goes into like our emotions, right? How well we are taking care of ourselves and how loved we feel. And then all the way at the top is like self-actualization, right? Like we are at the top of the mountain and we feel great and we can transcend and we can accomplish everything that we want to accomplish. But we cannot get to that point if down below, right, we're struggling, meaning that we're struggling to have well-balanced meals, we're struggling to get enough water, we're struggling to get enough sleep, and we're struggling to manage our stress. And everything else, like you're almost working against the current, right? Because you're trying to get all these things, but you haven't met the basics, right? The base of everything else that is on top of that. So you have to focus on that first, right? You want to be able to have those balanced meals. You want to be able to sleep well, those 7 to 8 hours. You want to manage your stress. And then everything else can come after that. So to recap on that, I know it was a long topic or topics, but I want you to really, really be intentional about your sleep, right? Where can I fix my sleep? What are the things that I can do from that calm methodology, right? What can I focus on first? Then move on to the next thing, right? Okay, now stress. How can I work on managing my stress, right? What are the stressors? Maybe I need to um, maybe I need to give some of my roles to someone else, my family, right? Like, can I ask my spouse to help with the meal planning? If I have older children, can they work? Can they help with something else? Um, Delegating, right, can really help. But figure out where your stress is coming from, and then what you can do about your stress, right? Everybody has stress. So if you tell me I don't have stress, let's talk about that a little bit more. But really figuring out how you can manage that stress. Because again, right, stress and sleep, they can affect our goals, they can affect our transformation. If weight loss is one of them, even weight gain, right, can also affect that. So let's work on that. Again, I am going to add this workbook or this handout into the replay, so you can have it, you can use it for your goals. The next thing now that we are going to do is I am going to show you how I create a meal plan. Right now, I want you to understand that this is not a plan that is individualized for you, right? As a dietitian, I legally can do that. I can create meal plans, but each of my patients that come to see me, they get an individualized meal plan based on their goals, right? Based on their needs, based on their food allergies and their intolerances. And it's truly individualized. So I want you to really understand that. The one that I'm going to create right now is just, as a guide to show you how my meal plans work. So let me share my screen here. And I usually start like this, right? A blank slate. And the way that I ask my patients about the meal plan, like what kind of meal plan would you like, right? Do you want 3 days of the same meal and 2 days different, 2 days different? I have some patients that, they want dinner and then the leftovers for lunch, different ways, right? But for the most part, most of my patients want some variety, right? I have some patients that say, I just want the entire week, Monday through Friday, the same meal. You can change it on the weekends, and that's totally fine. So the first thing about my meal plans is that just like the 3-2-1 method, right? I make sure that we have a high protein breakfast. Again, that's in relation to how our bodies are going to use insulin, how they are going to utilize the nutrients that we are putting in our systems. You can again go back to day one and listen to that replay or watch that replay to help you understand that more. But let's start, right? So breakfast, high protein one, I usually do like scrambled eggs or egg whites. So let's do let's just do this one, right? And we're gonna do 3 days. Again, like I say, you're gonna have access to this one. If you wanna do a vegan, right, or plant-based, we can do a plant-based one. Few recipes here. And we can do a mushroom tofu scramble for those 2 days. And then the next day, maybe we want something more like some pancakes, right? Because who doesn't like pancakes? Now, here's the thing. If we do protein pancakes, right, where we add some protein powder to them, or in this case, cottage cheese, right, it will add some kind of protein. And that's wonderful because, again, you want to have that high protein breakfast. But if you don't, let's say it's just regular pancakes, just make sure you add another source of protein, either scrambled eggs or egg whites or a protein drink if you like, just so that way you have that high protein breakfast. Then for lunch, right, maybe we want to keep it simple and we want to do a wrap. And let's do a chicken salad wrap, right? It has 43 grams of protein. And then for the next 2 days, maybe I just want to keep it simple and do a tuna sandwich. That's fine. And then Saturday and Sunday, okay, I have more time. So maybe I want to do a more complicated meal, right? And let's do some kind of chicken. And then there's that. And then for dinner, right, maybe I have a little bit more time, or maybe I don't have any time and I want to use my slow cooker thingy. And I can do it, for a couple of days, and I just do that some leftovers. And then for the next 2 days, maybe I want to add some days with plant-based meals, right, to get more of that plant-based protein. So then we can do some tempeh. And then there's that. And then over the weekend, maybe I want to do like pizza, for example. Because believe it or not, right, when we think about eating healthy, sometimes we think about these foods that, oh, I shouldn't be eating that, or that's bad. When we put foods into categories, good and bad, and then those foods that we want to eat, we place them in the bad category, and then we eat them, then now we feel really horrible about that, right? We feel like we fail. And so please don't put foods into good or bad categories. Food is just food, right? We depending on how much we eat, obviously, then that can affect our goals, but food is not bad. That can help your brain to realize, oh, this is just food, right? It's okay to have it. Nobody's going to punish us. Okay, so we need a little bit of greens here. So you can add maybe some cucumbers, slices, or carrots if you like. And then here is your meal plan, right? We can add maybe some snacks. A lot of the times patients tell me, I'm usually okay in the morning, but in the afternoon, I start to get hungry, and I want to have a snack. Okay, great. Because if I don't have a snack when I get home, what's going to happen is that I'm going to be eating everything and anything that's around me, or I am going to eat a bigger portion because I'm just so hungry. So usually, again, going back to day number 1, right? You want to have similar to the 3-2-1 method for your snacks, you want to always have protein or healthy fat, right? And then you can choose if you want to add nuts or seeds. In this case, for example, this specific snack has Greek yogurt, strawberries, and hemp seeds, right? And it has fiber, protein, and so it will keep you satiated. So here we go. Here is your sample meal plan. Again, this is just a guide, right? This is something to give you an idea of how you can create your meals. When it comes to meal planning, right, and meal prepping your foods, you want to keep it very simple, right? Keeping that in mind. Again, nutrition is simple. It's that when we complicate it because we hear all these things, all this hype on all diets or whatever, that we start to complicate things and now it's hard to do. So keep it very simple, right? Make sure that you have your protein, make sure you have your vegetables, and then you can add some starches or some fruit or some grains, and you have your meals, right? And for your snacks, you have a protein or a healthy fat and a fruit or a vegetable or a nut or a seed or whatever the case may be. And you have a balanced snack, right? And you're set for the week. And even if you feel like you don't want to meal prep on Sundays, having the ingredients available will help. Because let me tell you, at the end of the day, you had a rough day, it's really late. Who wants to go to the grocery store? I don't. Nobody wants to go, right? It's late and there's so many people, there's so much traffic, and you just want to go home. So at least having the ingredients available is going to help you to create a meal, right? That is not going to take long, but at least you have an idea of what you want to make, right? So if doing a menu can help, then that's perfect. If you have a family and you're like, but my family is not going to want to eat, then choose, if you have children, allow them to choose one day where they get to eat, they get to make the meal, they get to help you make the meal. And that helps them, right, to also get more into cooking and trying things. If you have a partner or a spouse, delegate some of those things, right? Okay, this is what we're going to have for dinner. When you get home, if you can please pre-cut the veggies or pre-cut the things or start cooking the rice or whatever the case may be, right? You don't have to do it alone, right? You don't have to do it by yourself. It's okay to ask for help. So anyway, I am going to download this plan here really quick, export. And you're going to have it available, right? You can use it again as recipes if you want to. You can use it as an inspiration. You can use it to, help you create other meals. And that is totally okay. So I have a few minutes left, and what I want to share with you is I created this 12-week program, right? It's called Fuel X Fit. And in this 12-week program, what you get is every 2 weeks you get a new meal plan, right? It's an individualized meal plan that you can use to achieve your goals, whatever your goals are, right? And you get all the recipes. I'll show you right now once the whole meal plan is downloaded. But every 2 weeks you get a new one. And here's why. Because you don't want to follow a meal plan for weeks and weeks and weeks, and you saw results, for a short period of time, and now you're not seeing results. Because most likely we need to adjust a meal plan. So I usually like to follow it for about 2 weeks, the first, couple weeks. As long as we continue to see results, then we're good, right? We don't have to change the macronutrients or the calories. But we do have to, keep track of that. So you get, a meal plan every 2 weeks. With the Fuel X Fit program, what you also get is access to our fitness application where you can log your workouts. We're gonna give you also a workout program that has been designed by a certified personal trainer to help you get at least 3 days of strength training. In the application, again, you can see the exercises, how the exercises are performed, and track your progress that way. There are 12 modules, right, that you can do at your own pace. Each module talks about different topics, about sleep, about stress. There is, in that module of stress, there is a psychologist, Dr. Kaney, who is going to give more tips on how to recognize and how to manage stress and how to transform your stress. And then we also have bonuses on meal prepping and meal planning. and tips for how to eat when traveling, how to eat during the holidays. So there's a lot of resources that you can really use to help you transform your body, to help you transform or to help you with this transformational journey. And so it's all there, to assist you and support you. And then along the way, right, you have access to our team. And so with that in mind, right, we have weekly calls. Each call every week on Fridays at 3 is when we have the live calls, and you can, ask questions. If you're struggling with anything, you can come and join the call. And you also have access to the Facebook group, right? So other participants that are going through the program can also support you. And then you have obviously your biweekly meal plans, and then once a month, you have a call with me to check progress and just to see how everything is going for you. So that program is $895, right, for the entire the 12 weeks. You can do 2 equal payments. And so if you sign up, and you get bonuses as well. If you pay in full, right, you get a whole month extra, right? And so essentially it would be 16 weeks. And so it's such a great program. Again, is things that tools and skills that I use with my patients, that I've used with hundreds of patients, and that they see results. So I would also add a link to the replay. And with that in mind, right, let me show you how the meal plan looks like. And let me share that with you here. So here it is. So when I create a meal plan for you, and another thing, right, we have different services. And so let's say you just want the meal plan by itself or a group of meal plans, right, that's also an option. Just reach out to me and I can create a meal plan just for you. So it gives you a breakdown of your meals, right, what you can eat Monday through Friday or Sunday. And then it gives you the nutrition information if you desire. If you don't, then I keep track of that. And it gives you a grocery list, right? So you don't have to worry about like writing things down. It gives you a grocery list for the entire meal plan for that 1 week. And then it gives you the recipes, right? How to make each recipe step by step. Now, this is amazing. Let me tell you why. Not because I love making these meal plans, but I've had patients that have no experience with cooking, right? And they're so nervous because they're like, I don't know how to cook. I don't feel comfortable cooking. And then I try to make the meal plans as simple as I can make them. And then that gives them confidence and they see, hey, I actually can cook. So they get so excited. I have a young patient, a male, and he just moved out of his home, right? He's living alone. He's in his 20s. And he's like, I don't know how to cook. And so, we've had 5 sessions already. And he's so excited. He's like, I'm experimenting with recipes and seasonings, which is something that you can do, right? And I'm loving how I'm able to cook now. And that is a huge skill, right? And so I think that is amazing. So if you don't know how to cook, don't worry. We can make a meal plan for you that is so simple that you can follow without a problem. So anyway, you'll have access to that meal plan. And under, when you go to the replays and under the link, again, use it just as a guide, just as to get ideas. And if you're needing something more specialized, something more individualized, please join the program, or just reach out to me to learn more about how we can support you. Okay, my friend, our time's up. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you take advantage of these. And I hope to see you very soon. And anything that you need, any questions that you have, please reach out. And I can wait to see you very soon. Okay, that is it for today. Bye bye for now, and I'll talk to you at another time.